everybody. Welcome to my pitch, Bakersville, a musical. I'm sorry I cannot be there in person. I have a rehearsal for a high school musical I'm playing keyboard for, but I am doing this video so you all can hear it right from my voice, live, but a few hours after live. So, I'm Travis, co-director and music director. I wrote the music for this show. I've done a lot of music direction in PTS, 2 shows specifically. Ride the Cyclone and Trail to Oregon, and I've directed 2 shows out of PTS that I've written myself, so I am familiar with this process and will do slay. Anna, please come up and talk about yourself. Pause the video. Okay, video's unpaused. Girl, you did such a good job. I am looking for a choreographer and tech director still. If the show ends up going through, then those people will be easy to find because there's a bunch of slay people in PTS that do that. Sorry I'm going so fast. I want to try and get through this.
What is Bakersville about? Baking!
No, it's not about baking. Okay. So, Wilson, our main character, is new into Bakersville. He goes to the town and he just wants to pay his taxes and get out. While he's there, he meets a lot of friends and makes a lot of enemies. He tries to pay his taxes, but through this very convoluted tax process, he causes commotion amongst the town, and he gets confronted by the higher-ups. And through this, he ends up learning about the history in the town, and the history is as follows. A few years ago, the Educated Uneducated Union sent this group called the Technocrats to Bakersville, and the Technocrats went to the higher-up people in the government, and they said, we will pay you money if you let us make your town better by eliminating all sadness. And they were like, oh, that's a pretty good deal. So they abided by the Technocrats. But what that involved was the Technocrats forcing everyone to be sad against their will.
That's not good.
This has consequences when June, who's another character, her grandfather ends up dying, and June is in mourning. And the Technocrats solve her problem of sadness by just killing her in front of the entire town as like a symbol for like, do not be sad, you're not allowed to.
That's not good.
So Wilson sees that in a flashback, and that ends the first act. Act 2, Wilson and his friends try to save everyone, tries to solve all the problems in the town. All of the good people end up escaping the town. One of the characters named the Father, who we'll talk about later, ends up sort of coming to the good side of the problem and helping them all escape. But Bakersville is still like it was before. And so it's sort of a bittersweet onion, oh my God. A bittersweet ending where all the good people get out of town and all of the problems in Bakersville still persist.
Characters.
So, Wilson is our main character. He gets moved to this town. He's a very reserved person. He keeps to himself. He doesn't assert himself. He doesn't want any trouble. However, in Bakersville, he grows to really care about the people he meets and ends up really asserting himself and taking risks in order to help these people that he's learned to care about. Has a baritone range, and his sort of 11 o'clock number where he comes to this realization of assertiveness for the people he cares about is called the More Song. So here's a little demonstration of that now.
More corrupt, more defeat, more decay. And with that there comes more bills to pay and papers to play. With more troubles arising each day. But what the hey? All the more reason to stay. As they say, more. Just attack, don't defend. Always stand till you break, never bend. More. So keep carrying on, yes, keep carrying on, yes, keep carrying on. You keep carrying on. It's the 2 rules of politics. More. This time it will work for sure. It's the 1 rule of politics. It's the 1 rule of Bakersville. More.
The next character is Mary. She is the cliche love interest in the show. She has lived in Bakersville her whole life, and she is very aware of these undertones that are in Bakersville. Like, she knows the history. She knows what's up. She has an alto range, and her main song is the opener to Act 2. It's called Impossible Tax on the Heart. Here's an excerpt from that song now.
It all looks grim. We still haven't found the answer, floundering around till night. But that grin I saw when we first met, I'd give anything back for that sight. In case
Next, we have the father. He's the religious leader in the town. Think Frollo vibes from Hunchback. The father is the main person that got bribed by the technocrat to let them do their thing. He was convinced that they were good and he was going to get money for it, so he was like, why not? He wants better for Bakersville. He genuinely wants Bakersville to succeed, but he's just very unmotivated and defeated. June, the girl who got executed for crying, was the father's daughter. So after her death, he just sort of became very discouraged and keeps to himself, very secluded. He's a baritone, but also goes a little bit low. He sings 2 songs, Through the Cracks, and then the Act 1 finale, which is called No More Bakers in Bakersville. Here's an excerpt from the Act 1 finale now of me singing. Sorry about that in advance.
But forever I remember what was here before we fell, when there were bakers there in Bakersville. So I ask you, Wilson, leave us forever. Oh, I know by this point you have had your fill. Do not stay and watch us die. Far away you now must fly. Please, to join with our forsakers, go where there are bakers. But there never will be bakers again in Bakersville.
Next up, we have Satin, who is Mary's sibling. Satin is assigned male at birth and struggles with their gender and sexual identity. And there's a lot of pressure from everyone that they know to be someone different. At the end of the show, through like sort of a B-plot development, Satin ends up just being confident with being themselves. And they sing a song, Just Satin. They're just themselves. They don't need to conform to anything. They just need to be happy and confident in who they are. Next up is Ma'am. She's the real leader of the town. She's very covert. She's the last remaining technocrat. She's also a robot. Her song is called Cradle to Grave. She gets all the main characters on a time-traveling train and tries to age them to death, to dying. And she was left here by the technocrats to ensure that everything stays the way they left it. Here's an example from Cradle to Grave right now, also with me singing.
Now that it started, you can't afford, but we'll try to keep this distance short as we carry you from cradle to grave. We've given you everything that you could ever need, but there are still things on your life that we should put the babies in the back, cause we've got a need for speed as we carry you from cradle to grave. From cradle to grave. That's our mission. From cradle to grave. I know you're wishing to have a good heart and your life go according to plan. From cradle to grave. You've told us a mission. From cradle to grave. Cause that's the price of admission. You'll find out you'll have the world in the palm of my hand. From cradle to grave, look into my eyes. I don't know what to say. From cradle to grave. From cradle to grave, from cradle to grave, we'll carry you from cradle to grave.
And next we have the technocrats. There are 4 of them. They appear in flashbacks when Wilson and the audience are learning about the history of Bakersville. Again, they're the ones who come into Bakersville, force everything to be happy, and then leave. They sing a song called The Technocrats, and it has a neutral range, so any actor of any voice part can sing The Technocrats because it is written to fit all voice types. And finally, we have the ensemble. There's an ensemble that is as big as possible. Many of the songs have ensemble dancing, background parts, and there are moments for featured solos. So if there's someone in the ensemble, they're going to be actively involved in the songs, in the dancing, and in the storytelling. One interesting thing that I want for this production is the set pieces to be made through ensemble members using their bodies. So doors, there's this really big medieval gate that's in a scene. Desks, street lamps, etc. are all made with ensemble members moving and positioning themselves in a certain way. There's also some other smaller characters. There's June and the mayor of the town, as well as a clown at some point. So moments for ensemble members. Set and props.
Set and props.
The only set needed is chairs. The ones in the Sioux Theater are Pog. Additionally, the projector will be used for the show, similar to Cyclone. I'm thinking in like the town scenes, a town projection in the back, maybe a library projector in the back when we're in an office, things like that. There's also a list of small props that can be gotten from one's house. The main props are streamers, paper and folders, a key, and then some masks. For a full 2-act show, there's actually not a lot of props. A lot of it comes from the set pieces that are in different scenes, but that's done with the actors, so not too much of a resource list in this department.
Costumes.
Wilson's costume, normal and chill, a bit more formal. Mary and Mam are citizens of Bakersville, so they have very colorful, happy outfits. The father wears something religious. The technocrats have suits, canes, hats. They're very spiffy peeps. They're going to be all coordinated, all black and white tuxedo, like very top hat, cane type vibes. Satin needs a few costumes. The main one is a very long, feminine, elegant, sparkly dress. Think Noel Gruber Goes to Prom. And then finally, the ensemble, similarly to Mary and Mam, colorful, happy, and there's an idea of having face masks that have smiles plastered on them, or just the ensemble members smiling themselves. That is to be decided. So, why should you choose to perform Bakersville? It's free. Rights for shows are expensive, and being able to do one that's free means that the ticket money gets shoved right back into the club.
Ooh, that's very intimate.
Shoved right back into the club, and can be used for a lot of tech things. Can be used to do a larger production in the future. That like sort of jolt of influx can be really helpful for Page to Stage. Also, supporting aspiring writers. My collaborator Jake and I have been working on the show for about 2.5 years, and so getting an opportunity to have it be produced by such wonderful people would mean a lot to us. Large cast, many opportunities, like I mentioned before, good amount of lead roles, and a lot of featured ensemble parts. Interesting story. I think it's pretty neat, and I'm biased, but I think the music's pretty fire. And I'm imagining like end of Act 1, like a full voice choir singing, and then like the orchestral instrumental tracks in the background, just like adding to like this massive sound. Will sound great with all the performers we have. And a really exciting thing is that you get to interpret a character for the first time. This is a unique challenge that's often reserved for professionals, since that's usually where most shows are developed, is in the professional world. And a lot of the shows that we do that are professional, a lot of groups like ours, like community theaters and school theaters, have to base their characters off of those professional productions to some extent. Obviously, you can do a lot to make it different, but those shows are written with those professional performers in mind. And so you get to really make this character your own for the first time in history, which is pretty neat. Mars. Despite being red, Mars is a cold place. That's all I have. Thank you all for taking the time to watch this pitch. I hope you decide to choose Bakersville. I think it would be a great thing for Page to Stage to do, and have a great rest of your night.